Good morning. Good morning. I'm here. You're here. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. Sort of. Not officially yet. We haven't officially begun yet. This is the welcome period where I awkwardly wish everybody a good morning as they come into the chat. I'm like, good morning. How are you? Welcome to my show. I still need to do that thing where I get like the strawberries where we do like we have play food like hello but I'm doing that intermittent fasting thing where I don't eat until after this stream. I'm trying to do the 14-hour jobby, so I stop eating at 9 p.m. So I eat again at 11 a.m. This is all my time. So right after the stream, that's when I rock out some food. What's up, Tim? Good to see you. You know, I had a dream last night. I ordered 2 milkshakes. Kind of a weird dream, if I must say so myself. Very weird dream. But that was the one I had. I'm having trouble scrolling here. There we go. All right. So where are we at? Go ahead and refresh this. Good morning, Karen. How are you? Nelson says, strength wins elections, not decency. Democrats must accept the premise of the angry mob, just as Trump accepted deplorable. I agree with that, Nelson. I don't know how concerned the Democrats are with winning, though. What's up, Daniel? Good to see ya. What's up, Chris? I had a dream that I was having a stupid dream, woke up in my dream, realized that it was a stupid dream, then woke up for real. That's almost as weird as my dream. I had a dream I ordered 2 milkshakes from 2 different places. Like I was walking home, and I didn't know where I was. It was like a weird place. I was at but like my mom was there, so I guess I was like home, back in my hometown or whatever. And I went into this place, and I was like, screw it, I'm getting a milkshake. And then I looked down, and I realized I had a milkshake in my hand from the last place I was at. So I'm like, dude, I'm getting 2 milkshakes. That's weird. But then what I decided to do was I decided to just go for it. And then the person gave me this, like, mint spritzer and said it was a milkshake. It was very, yeah, whatever. I shouldn't have even bothered. It's such a weird dream, like, I can't even really describe it. What's up, Celeste? Good to see you. What's up, Chris? We got both Chris W's up in the house. And, you know, speaking of how I'm saying that, you know, the Democrats, like Nelson's saying what the Democrats need to do to kind of really get a winning message. And I'm bringing up how I don't know how high on the concern list winning is for them. Have you guys noticed this? And this isn't today's topic. We haven't officially started yet. Today's topic's going to be a light, fun one because I'm leaving for the UK next week. So this is our last episode for a little bit. But what's up, Jessica? What's up, Derek? Have you guys noticed that a lot of the Blue No Matter Who crowd, and some of you might be in that crowd. I'm not trying to judge. I'm just making an observation, and maybe you can enlighten me on it. A lot of the Blue No Matter Who crowd, they're already shaming people into voting for Joe Manchin. Like they're saying, we got to vote for Joe Manchin, not as severe as the Republican, blah, blah, blah. But nobody seems to be doing that about Ben Jealous. Am I the only one noticing that? Like, is that... Has anyone else noticed that too? Like when it comes to Joe Manchin, who is a Republican. I mean, Joe Manchin's a Republican. But, like, then Ben Jealous, about a third of the Maryland Democrats are going against Ben Jealous. And nobody, you don't see any Blue No Matter Who people shaming those people into, hey, you got to vote for Ben Jealous. You don't see that. Why? Why don't you see that? Why is the Blue No Matter Who crowd shaming people into voting for Joe Manchin, but not Ben Jealous? And we know the answer, but... Good morning from Tustin. Ah, you're nearby. Good to see you, Osito. I had a dream about a year ago where you were in it, Chris Walker says, and I was so nervous to approach you, but you were so nice, just like on here. Aw, thanks, Chris. It's very kind of you to say. Tim says, they jealous. I like it. All right, we are above 30, so we have officially begun. Guys, welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. Yeah, that means you guys send me ideas, we talk about it, and we'll entertain that question I started with. We're going to revisit at the end. That's how we'll end the show. Because here's the deal, guys. I'll do some housekeeping to start out. This is going to be the last show for a little while. Why? Because I'm leaving for the UK on Sunday, and I'm frickin' stoked. Which, by the way, London, I'm doing a spot October 17th. It's going to either be at the Bill Murray Comedy Club or the Camden Head Comedy Club. I'm not sure which location I'm going to be at. I will, of course, tweet the information, but mark your calendar, 8 p.m., or, you know, I guess you guys don't, well, you know what I mean, on October 17th. And Dublin, I'm going to be at the Comedy Crunch over in Dublin on October 22nd. Boom! And guys, don't worry because videos will be coming out. I already got videos scheduled to come out every day while I'm gone. There's going to be some of the clips that were kind of in the vault but still topical. And there's going to be some stand-up. I'm excited to tell you guys there's going to be some stand-up. So you got some stand-up videos coming your way. So please do tune into this channel. But I will be in the UK for a couple weeks. So our next show after today will not be until October 29th. So I'm going to miss you guys. And you know what? Maybe while I'm over there, I might be able to do a stream or two. Maybe if I can stream good from my phone, I can just check in, give you guys an update on how it's going. We can have a light one. We'll see. I will try to do that. But, you know, officially, this will be our last episode for a little while. Unless I get some surprise episodes in. But I'm stoked. London, Manchester, Edinburgh, Dublin. I'm coming. I'm mostly going on vacation, but I'm doing a couple spots while I'm over there, and I'm stoked. Yeah. What's up, Thomas? And you mentioned talking to Gordon Dimmick. You know, I actually messaged Gordon. I think I told this story already, so I won't get too far into it. But I I messaged Gordon, and I just assumed Gordon also did comedy. So I was like, hey, man, can you help me out with any spots? And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He doesn't, yeah. But anyway, I do hope to meet him when I'm over there. We'll see. But I have been tweeting back and forth with him, or messaging with him. So, guys, because today is going to be my last episode for a little while, and because it is October, and I'm not going to be back until the end of the month, I thought we'd do this now for something to everybody to digest for the rest of the month. Guys, you know, usually at the end of the week, we got to do something light, something to keep ourselves from going insane, right? So, if you're anything like me, you frickin' love horror movies. And I've been watching, me and my girlfriend have been watching a horror movie almost every night. So far, we've watched House of a Thousand Corpses, which I want to say I've seen before, but it's been years. And I think that when I watched it, it was like in college. So there was a group of us, and we were all drunk, so we didn't really watch the movie. It was just kind of on. But I actually watched it. I've watched The Conjuring. I've watched The Babysitter, I think it was called. And then last night I watched The Witch. And I gotta say, I was a little disappointed in two of those movies. The Babysitter movie was just kind of weird and creepy, but not in a good weird and creepy way, just kind of in a kind of way. But it was okay. It was still decent. I don't regret watching it. The Witch, I was a little disappointed with, but I had really high hopes for it. Whenever you say creepy New Englandy witchcraft, old-timey, set back during that era, I'm in. I'm really intrigued. I really want to watch that. So I was hoping this was some witch was plaguing a community. But that's not the premise of that movie. It's actually just one family. So, I was a little disappointed with the execution. It just wasn't quite what I'd hoped for. Still an enjoyable movie. I still liked it. I don't know if I'd go as far as to recommend it. I think there's other movies I'd recommend first. But, so the topic today, guys, we're recommending some horror movies. I tweeted this out last night. I recommended some horror movies, and I got about 200 responses. We're going to go through all of them. No, just kidding. We're not going to go through all of them, but we'll skim some of these. Carmen Chateau Ruby recommends Suicide Club. I echo that recommendation. Suicide Club is amazing. Check out Suicide Club if you haven't. That is such a good film. Another one I would say on that, Battle Royale. Excellent, excellent movie. Not necessarily a horror film, but kind of a horror film. Horror Hospital is recommended. I don't know. I haven't seen that one. Russ recommends Troll Hunter and then says he's serious. So I guess he really is serious about Troll Hunter. I've never seen it. Rick Overton recommends Let's Scare Jessica to Death. Now, Peter Griffin recommends Trick or Treat. So I echo that recommendation. I loved Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat is one of those horror movies. Everybody either loves it or hates it. There aren't many people in between. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was such a cool movie. But everybody else I watched the movie with, nobody liked it. So, I guess Trick or Treat, it's one of those acquired things. It's not for everyone, but I really fucking dug it. Night of the Creeps is another one. Let's see. Cabin in the Woods is recommended. The Hitcher. David recommends The Hitcher. Chopping Mall. Oh, and by the way, Winkle the Bernie Bro taught me a new phrase, schlock horror. I had no idea what the hell that meant, but he tweeted, he goes, if you are into schlock horror, you can't go wrong with Chopping Mall. And I said, at the risk of sounding lame, what does schlock horror mean? And then Chateau Ruby actually got in on that thread as well, and she goes, Whispers, I would also like to know as I've never heard the term. So, schlock horror, and this is Winkle the Bernie Bro answering our inquiries. Campy or low-budget exploitative B-movie crap. Schlock, like Troll 2. So there you go. And I like some of that B-movie stuff. Which, speaking of which, another recommendation, The Church. That's a really creepy one. But I recommend The Church. The Conjuring, Benjamin recommends. I just watched The Conjuring. I echo that recommendation. The Conjuring was a good one. Hills Have Eyes, haven't seen it. Oculus, haven't seen it. But those are some more recommendations. Identity, we got a couple for Identity. Get Out, I've seen it. I echo that recommendation. I really like Get Out. Let the Right One In, never seen that one. I'm going to throw one out there from me, Orphan. I really dug Orphan. Orphan was one of my favorite horror movies I've seen in recent years. Zombies on a Train. Train to Busan. If you like kind of an absurdist, satirical horror movie, I recommend Zombie Strippers. It was pretty funny. And it was actually an enjoyable. So here we go. We have a recommendation for The Witch. A couple people recommended The Witch. That's why I watched it last night. About like 5 or 6 people on the thread recommended The Witch. And I really liked the premise, so I was like, yeah, I'm in. And I was a little disappointed. I'm not going to say I disliked it. I did enjoy it, but I was a little disappointed. It wasn't what I was hoping for. Green Room and It Comes at Night, Sam recommends. The Old Dark House. Old Dark House got a couple shout-outs. Now, Steve says, I stand by the original Omen that night. Not really gory or bloody, just psychologically disturbing. For blood, gore, and disturbing, check out Henry, Portraits of a Serial Killer. Now, I gotta say, I love The Omen. It's a beautiful plot. But I actually preferred the remake over the original. I thought The Omen that was made in the 2000s was really, really good. And I liked it better than the original. We got a couple shout-outs for Suspiria. Now, I know that this is on me. I first of all, I'm an Italian-American. I should always give a preferential treatment to Italian cinema, right? I didn't get Suspiria. And I know everybody loves it. It is a cult classic. It is horror movie buffs that might be watching this are writing me off as a poser, and that's totally fair. I'm not a connoisseur. I'm not an expert. I just enjoy it. When I used to live in Nashville, there was this like horror movie like cinema, and it was actually the most perfect setup ever. It was run by this dude out in New Jersey named Rob, or he's from New Jersey. He was from New Jersey. He lived in Nashville, but and he had this tiny little movie theater. It was downstairs from this occult shop. So you went downstairs. Now here's something that's cool. What did they used to use that theater space for? It used to be a veterinarian office, and what is now a theater is where they used to have to put the animals down. So this used to be a place where animals got put down. Now it's this creepy-ass movie theater. And they would do other events like music shows and stand-up and burlesque. That's how I found out about it at first. I did stand-up there. And then I was like, this place is cool. And on Friday and Saturday nights, Rob would show movies. He literally just had a DVD player connected to a projector, and it would screen up against the wall. It sat about 30 people, and you would go, and everything cost $2. Tickets were $2. If you wanted a beer, that was $2. If you wanted popcorn, that was $2. Soda, $2. You get the idea. So basically, you could have a date night for about $20, and you could go see a movie, and these were all just movies from Rob's personal collection. And everyone would go in, he'd be like, all right, hope you enjoy it. He'd press play. Sometimes he would hang out and watch the movie with you. Sometimes he wouldn't. And it was such a cool horror movie, such a cool horror venue. They had closed, at least last time I was cognizant of what was going on out there. I haven't lived in Nashville for quite a few years. But they had to close due to some kind of fire code thing, and they were looking for a place to reopen. But, man, they had such a perfect space. That was one of those things. You were just glad you were part of it while it lasted. It follows another recommendation, Where to Invade Next, Fright Night, The Ring, the original. They say the original Japanese version. I've seen both, and I recommend all of them. So let's see what you guys are saying. 28 Days Later, The Thing, Alucarda, Ducker and Dale vs. Evil, The Ritual, Halloween, the original. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Lost Boys, Alien, Predator or Aliens, Night of the Living Dead, 28 Days Later, Sunshine, The Witch, Get Out, Babadook. Let me see where you guys are at. The Exorcist, classic. The Thing, Sinister, Supernatural, Haunted House Horror. I also like, some of you guys are saying I like weird suspenseful stuff. Like, I like psychological stuff. I like eerie supernatural stuff. I don't really like crazy, gory stuff either. If it's done well, like, and if it's a cool, like, if the plot's cool, I can deal with it. And you know what? I'll throw out another one, Children of the Corn. The original, they had a ton, they had so many sequels to. I don't even know how many sequels to Children of the Corn they've had, but they had a lot. I recommend the original, like just the first one. Chromatic Tree shares this. Ron in chat, I am in Oregon and I'm registering to vote at my new address. I must be registered as a Dem to vote in the primary. I've never been registered with the party, and the Dems suck even more now. Thoughts? My opinion, you got to do what you got to do to vote. It's really it's a really weird situation. I told the story about how, because I don't have, the primaries are kind of open in California and kind of not open in California. Like, when it comes to presidential, it's up to the party. Like, the party gets to decide if independents can vote or not. But then in other elections, like smaller elections, it is open primary. So it's a weird, tricky situation in California. Despite all that, I still thought, well, I'm going to register as an independent, and I'll just deal with it one election at a time, I guess, and just cross any bridge I have to when I come to it. And then they still just kept my registration as Democrat. When I was 18, I registered as a Democrat for the same reason. I knew that if I didn't, because this was in a different state, this was in Pennsylvania, I knew that if I didn't register as a Democrat, I wouldn't be able to vote in the primaries. So I kind of felt like I had to. Obviously I wasn't going to register as a Republican. And I know my little cousin's in a similar situation to you. Chromatic Tree, he is also a pretty progressive-minded person that wanted to register as an independent, and he did register as an independent, and on the first ballot he got, there was only one measure he got to vote on. He lives in North Carolina, and there was just one, kind of garbage ordinance thing that he got to vote on, and he could vote on nothing else. He couldn't vote on any of the candidates. So it's an ugly situation how they kind of twist your arm into one of the two parties in most cases. And, I would say do what you got to do to be able to vote. And simultaneously, you should go to openprimaries.org and see what you can do to try to help them out, because they are an organization committed to having open primaries all across the country. All right. Let's see. Monk Simo, how depressed were you? This is a question for me. Thank you very much for your Super Chat contribution. I'll go ahead and answer this question now. How depressed were you after your debate on RT? I wasn't depressed as much as I was just kind of just like I wasn't sure if I added a lot or not, because some of the stuff they were just talking about, I just sort of was like, yeah, I don't even know what to say to that. They were at one point they brought up comments somebody made on a New York Times article. And my response to that, my knee-jerk response to something like that is, who the fuck cares? Who cares? And I think that sometimes people on the right, they need to almost make up things to be upset about. Because, again, and you guys have heard me talk about this before, if you're conservative in the United States, you've got it made right now. You pretty much got it made all the time, but you've really got it made right now. You can pick any political party you want. If you're kind of center conservative, you got the Democrats. If you're further right, you got the Republicans. If you take Ayn Rand too seriously, you got the Libertarians. You got it. And you got, hey, Brett Kavanaugh got through anyway. You got your Supreme Court. You got, what do you have to be mad about? You kind of got to fish for things to talk about if you're a conservative. So you got to be like, look at what's going on in the New York Times. Someone said this. Who cares? Who cares what someone in a comment section said? Who cares that, I don't know. Do you like old skate and peace punk bands like 7 Seconds and Minor Threat? Yes. In fact, let me show you. Be right back. Boom! That should answer your question. Love 7 Seconds. Kevin Seconds is up to some interesting stuff these days too, I believe. But yeah, I like 7 Seconds. I love Minor Threat. The first old school punk band I ever got into when I was a kid was actually Teen Idols, which was Ian MacKay's first band before Minor Threat. They only released one EP. Still one of my favorite 80s hardcore EPs to this day. It's just fast. It's not really hardcore. It's more like melodic, or kind of melodic, just fast skate punk. And they were just so great. They were 16 or 17 years old when they were doing it, because this was even before Minor Threat. And it was just such a fun EP. Such a fun EP. And that was the first old school punk I listened to ever. And I remember just hearing it, and I was thinking, man, this is like me and my friends in our little garage band. I could relate to it a lot. So there you go. I hope that answers your question. And let me see if we have any other recommendations, and then we'll move on. to what you guys want to talk about today. Daniel loves Fugazi, so do I. Do you like the band Consolidated? Patricia, I'm not familiar with them. Let's see. Oh yeah, Cappuccino Conservatives brings this up. Speaking of like all the they have to make up things to be mad about. Fox News was mad that Jamie Lee Curtis is for gun control despite being in a Halloween movie. And I remember I saw something like this. I guess in the new Halloween movie, Jamie Lee Curtis's character has to use a gun. And Fox News is mad about that because they're saying she's for gun control. So you're not allowed to act in a movie if you're for gun control. Like, it's so... how... you're totally fishing. That's the most ridiculous... oh, she's using a gun. She's playing a character that uses a gun, and she's acting. And it's a fictional movie that's supposed to be fiction. So I guess, you know what? We can actually flip this. If you're conservative and you're far to the right... and you're pro-fracking, you can't like Star Trek, because they were environmentalists. So you can't like Star Trek if you're far on the right. There you go. There you go. And of course, I don't actually mean that. That's absurd. But using their logic on Jamie Lee Curtis, there's another reach that could be made on the other side. If you're really conservative, you can't like, Star Trek, they were environmentalists. So you can't like... Oh, also, the music you can listen to? Pretty much fucking none of it. You can listen to pretty much no rock and roll music. So, it's weird. If we applied that test to conservatives, they would have a really, cultureless life. Because there's, they got Ted Nugent. That's it. Which, by the way, I put out a Twitter... I put out a Twitter poll. What do you guys think that Kid Rock... Kanye West and Donald Trump are going to have for lunch today? Is it going to be Papa John's? Is it going to be Chick-fil-A? Or is it going to be the souls of poor people? Cast your vote now. Cast your vote now. All right. Jordan brings up, didn't her character die in the Halloween series already? I thought so too, actually, but apparently not. And, I apologize if we just... spoiled anything, but hey, once it was in the chat, what are you gonna do? But yeah, I thought that her character had died as well. All right, this is from David. We'll start here, and if you want to write down some of those horror movie recommendations, you can check out my Twitter thread. It's got all of it. BrettKavanaugh.com has been purchased and made into a resource for sexual assault survivors, a nonpartisan group seeking transparency from the Supreme Court. Good luck with that, by the way. Transparency from the Supreme Court. Good luck. Purchased the domain BrettKavanaugh.com and filled it with resources for sexual assault survivors rather than information on the new Supreme Court Justice's biography. This is cool. I mean, I don't want to come off as a negative Nancy, and I applaud these people for doing what they're doing. They're trying to make a positive out of something very negative. And I applaud that, and I think that's a really cool thing. But on the same note, it's hard to kind of have a feel-good moment here because he still got in. He still won. And, the Supreme Court in general, looking at a big picture... The Supreme Court is supposed to check government. That's what it's supposed to do. Instead, it is just a political tool for our oligarchy. That's what it's become. And both parties do it. Republicans and Democrats both do it. They just use it as a political tool. They don't try to instill people that are capable of judging the law as objectively as possible. And no one's 100% objective. That's impossible. We all know that. We all have our biases. We're human beings. Of course there's going to be some judges that lean more to the left and some that lean more to the right. Of course we're going to have that. But, again, we're talking magnitude here. And the qualifications for judges, at least what we're seeing from the Trump administration, is how fringe are you? They don't get these, judges that have demonstrated the ability to do the work. They get hyper-partisan demagogues. That's what they want. So you have this hyper-partisan demagogue. And, again, it's he said versus she said, and you're left to make your own judgment call. I made mine. I don't believe him. I think he's lying. I believe Dr. Ford. I don't believe him. So that's another reason why I don't think he's fit to be on the Supreme Court. There are many reasons, a lot of them policy related. Another one is, I don't believe him. I think he's lying. So, it's hard to have a feel-good moment where it's like, oh, well, they got this website. And again, I'm not trying to, I applaud the people for doing it. But, at the end of the day, it's like he's still in the seat. He's still in the freaking seat, So we're going to go over to Germany here. This is kind of interesting. The far right isn't the only rising force in Germany. That's good. When an election in one German state could reveal, what an election in one German state could reveal about immigration politics across Europe. Okay, so I'm seeing this for the first time. Let's learn. When Germany's southern state of Bavaria hold its regional election on Sunday, its ruling Christian Social Union is expecting to lose its absolute majority by a lot. The party's projected losses appear to be part of a much broader trend of political fragmentation across Europe, in which bigger parties are shrinking while smaller parties, especially those on the far right, are growing. I'm glad to see smaller parties grow. I'm not glad that they're on the far right. But apparently that's not it. All right, so let's see what else is going on. Such has been the case in Sweden, Italy, and even Germany's general election. But Bavaria is bucking this trend. Rather than the new main challenger coming from a populist party like Alternative for Germany on the far right, it's coming from a more unexpected source, the pro-immigration Green Party. Bavaria stands out among German states for its relatively stable politics. It's been a one-party state governed by the center-right CSU for much of the past several decades. So it's telling about the state of political fragmentation in Germany and in Europe more broadly, that even their voters, their voters are looking for alternatives to the establishment. It's also telling that this doesn't necessarily favor the far right. So Greens could secure as much as 18% of the vote on Sunday, more than doubling its result from Bavaria's last state election in 2013. Such an outcome would put the Greens ahead of the center-left Social Democrats, who projected to win 11%, and the far-right AfD, projected to win 10%. While I'm glad those two groups are beating the far right, it would also put them second only to the CSU, and now they are considered center-right. Of course, that's over in Germany, so here in the United States, they would probably be considered center-left. Interesting. And now it's saying here the CSU did not move to the right. So it seems like overall, you're seeing some different fringe risings, but it seems like it seems to overall be to the left. And Germany, Germany overall, at least in places like Berlin especially, they are very, very much doing good socially. They have a lot of policies that favor the people, in particularly in that town. I know Bavaria and those areas are a little more conservative compared to a place like Berlin. But, they do a lot of different things where they have a lot of social safety nets for their people, especially compared to a place like the United States. And they really are. And economically, they're kind of leading the herd in many ways. So, and I know we've seen some bad news out of Germany as of recent. There has been some other bad news, but, yeah. All right. Let's keep moving, shall we? What are you guys talking about? Sorry, you guys are sending stuff, but I'm just trying to get to the beginning of the timeline. This is from Seawalk. I'll go ahead and give it a Get Your News On with Ron retweet. As even long-shot Democrats harvest huge numbers of campaign contributions, Republicans brace for an onslaught. House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes typically steamrolls challengers when re-election time comes. The most any of his past opponents has raised during the 16 years he has represented part of the Central Valley was $400,000. Some raised nothing at all. His current challenger raised $4.3 million in 3 months. As candidates around the country begin reporting fundraising totals for the third quarter, the deadline for all to report is Monday. Even long-shot Democrats have been disclosing once unheard-of sums. Republican lawmakers and their strategists have reacted with alarm. The dollar totals illustrate how Democrats have extended lessons learned from Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign 2 years ago, harvesting hundreds of thousands of energized small donors nationwide. That money won't prove decisive in every race, of course. All right, so they talk about Beto O'Rourke, who's taking on Ted Cruz. They're talking about Nunes's district. American politics hasn't previously seen this level of fundraising engagement from small donors. The amount of money pouring into the midterm election far exceeds what small donors invested in the 2016 presidential race. The money is going to candidates whom donors often know little about, but they trust the progressive groups raising the funds. I don't know how they can make that determination. I don't know how the Los Angeles Times can make that claim one way or the other. The money is going to candidates whom donors often know little about, but they trust the progressive groups raising the funds. Yeah, I don't know how they can make that claim. I mean, have they interviewed individuals making the donations and being like, do you know anything about this candidate? I know that a lot of the individuals I know that contribute to candidates, they know a lot about them before they make that contribution. So, yeah, I don't know what that sentence is all about. So, liberal donors look at Congress that is so gerrymandered. So, what is... All right, so far this article is saying in a lot of paragraphs that Democrats are raising a lot of small money donations, and that it's more so than ever before. Republicans are alarmed, and what's kind of the conclusion here? I mean, I'm not going to read every single paragraph because this is very long. Okay. These donors don't care what the Cook Political says about a race. If they see a candidate they can get behind and believe in, they will give. One of the first examples of this kind of online activism on the left dates back a decade. Tea Party favorite Michelle Bachmann's public attack of Barack Obama in 2008 as anti-American and raised enough progressives to generate $1.3 million in online donations for her Democratic challenger within a week. Bachmann still won the race, but the outpouring of money set a pattern, said David Karmpf, a political scientist at George Washington University's School of Media and Public Affairs. That outrage led to the impulse for donors, and the infrastructure is now there to make it easy for them to give. When was it ever not easy for them to give? All right, I guess that article was cool. Maybe I'm missing something. It just, hey, a lot of individuals are giving money, and there's different progressive groups that help them do it. Okay. And I guess we'll see what happens when the dust settles after the midterms. I think, I think that Democrats are going to pick up some stuff. I don't think it's going to be as extensive as some are calling for. I don't think... I don't know if it's going to be a blue wave. It'll maybe be a blue current. Or, well, I guess a current can be... Well, you know what I mean. But I don't know if the wave will be one you can take into the shore. Let's put it that way. It might be a wave that you can be like, I can bodyboard on this for a little bit. I don't know if it's going to be one of that. I don't know if it's going to be a hang 10 wave. Like I think it's going to be moderately changing. Like I think there's going to be Trump fatigue is going to give the Democrats some wins. But running on Trump fatigue alone, I don't think we're going to see. And some of these races, like, it'll be interesting to see if some of the progressives in them win. And that's what I'm most concerned about. I'm most concerned about seeing progressives win. But I guess, you know, independents are raising more money. Oh, and Seawalk points out this article doesn't mention the checks that neoliberals are taking from Goldman Sachs CEOs. Yeah, okay. So I guess I should have read that disclaimer because I'm not, you know, that article kind of seemed like a waste of time. Man, yeah, they're trying to make it out like it's just progressives giving this money when in many for instances that's not even the case. But there's progressive organizations on the internet. That's the conclusion of this article that the Los Angeles Times published. Cool. Well, let's go to something else. Jess shares this. The top 10 underrated horror films. Candyman in 1992. All right, so this is according to horrornews.net. All right, so they're saying these are the films that are pretty good that go under the radar. Number 10, Candyman. It's a suspense-filled slasher from 92. Number 9, Flatliners from 1990. Number 8, It Follows from 2014. Now, a couple people recommended It Follows earlier in the show. Number 7, Pieces from 1982. I haven't seen any of these. Number 6, Frozen. I've heard good things about Frozen, but I've not seen it. Number 5, Cube. Number 4, Eden Lake. Number 3, Funny Games. I never even heard of that movie. Number 2, The Strangers. Now, I hear a lot of people talk positively about The Strangers. And a lot of people recommended The Strangers in the Twitter thread where I asked for horror movie recommendations. So it seems like that has a pretty big following. I don't know if one could say it's underrated in that case, but according to the list. And number 1, Sinister. Now, Sinister is another one. I've heard really good things about Sinister. So, yeah, I guess it's, you know, whenever you make those determinations like underrated, it's like, well, what does that mean exactly? I mean, I guess maybe it means like it didn't do good in the box office and then later it developed a hell of a following, something like that. But there you go. There's another list. You guys, you have horror flicks for the rest of the year, basically. I mean, we're ready and waiting, and we got stuff indefinitely. All right. This is from the Reddit, and this will probably be our last article today. I'm going to go to the chat. To end. Scientists just laid out paths to solve climate change. We aren't on track to do any of them. Yay! Climate scientists have understood for decades that unchecked man-made global warming will wreak havoc on human civilization. The challenge has only grown more urgent as scientific understanding expands and the world begins to feel the impacts. Now, a landmark UN report offers both a glimmer of hope and a giant warning. Scientists and policymakers have the know-how to address climate change and stave off some of the worst effects of the phenomenon, but political leaders are nowhere close to fully undertaking any of these steps, the report shows. Scientists on the Nobel Prize-winning Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change points to a global temperature rise of 1.5 degrees Celsius. All right. We need a plan to save us. We have a short window of time and a huge responsibility. Humans need to shift the trajectory of carbon dioxide emissions so that we can stop emitting by around 2050, or pull more carbon out of the atmosphere than we release. That's a tall order given the extent to which we rely on fossil fuels. Now, scientists already have the technical wherewithal to limit temperature rise to the target 1.5 degrees Celsius. Limiting it is not impossible, but will require unprecedented transitions in all aspects of society. Every bit of warming matters. Among other things, the list of solutions includes energy efficiency, electrifying transport and pulling carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere by reforesting regions and using the carbon capture technology. The rapid deployment of renewable energy will also play a key role. To keep temperatures at the target, renewable energy will need to provide at least 70% of global electricity in 2050, while coal use will essentially need to disappear. Now, some of these changes are already in motion. Renewable energy sources like wind and solar have expanded rapidly in recent years. That growth is expected to continue, but the change isn't coming fast enough. Reaching the target will require government action, including support for research and development and modification of the way markets work to account for the negative effects of burning fossil fuels. So the energy transition we need now for climate purposes needs to move much faster. We need policy mechanisms. So the report is intended to help spur those policies. So we're nowhere close to where we need to be. Like, nowhere close. So we need to have way more renewable energy. We need to reduce carbon emissions. And we need a pathway to do all this with a timeline that we actually take seriously. So we need to get off of fossil fuels and coal completely. And we're nowhere close to that goal. And according to this article, we have until about 2050. Other sources will tell you 2030. So Brown and others have tried to restart these efforts. They have a series of summits, policy announcements, and corporate commitments, all designed to put pressure on national governments ahead of the upcoming UN climate conference in Poland this December. But with political disruptions across the globe, the challenge remains steep. The challenge remains steep, especially when you have climate denial in the White House. We don't even have general consensus in the United States amongst elected officials that climate change is real. Now, there is consensus in the science community at pretty much 98%. The other 2% are funded by fossil fuels. But amidst officials, you don't even have common consensus that climate change is real. The President of the United States does not think climate change is real. Everything's fine. So, of course, we're way behind schedule. We need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. Wind, solar helps with all this. Sustainable farming helps with all this. Electric cars help with all this. And it's so hard not to feel helpless. Like it's so hard not to feel helpless and to think, man, we're not gonna be able to reverse this thing, and the planet is going to shake us off, as George Carlin put it. And to kind of go on this, here's something else. The EPA will dissolve its Science Advisory Office. The office will be merged by another that's led by the current Science Advisor. So the EPA will eliminate the Office of the Science Advisor. That's a good idea. Who needs that? An entity within the agency that works to ensure its policies and decisions are based on quality science. Yeah, again, seems like a superfluous position we totally don't need. The New York Times reports that the scientific advisory position, which currently reports directly to the head of the EPA, will be merged into another office, the Office of Research and Development. It's certainly a pretty big demotion. This is just the latest in a series of moves that have weakened the EPA and shifted its focus from science-driven policy to a relaxing of environmental protection regulations. See how those two go hand in hand, huh? First, we cover an article about how, hey, scientists have a pathway that we can kind of curtail this. We can do better. Here's the bad news. We're nowhere near on course. What's going on in politics? The EPA just got rid of the science advisor. The person that makes sure, hey, our policy should be based on science. Environmental policy should be based on science. The people exploring the environment. That position, gone. Who needs it? Sounds superfluous. I mean, what the hell? And whenever you, I mean, and I've brought this up too, like if you talk to people in the science community, you know, when it comes to environmental issues, they will be incredibly far to the left. Incredibly far to the left. And even if they're more conservative in other areas, I mentioned my cousins, you know, they're very moderate politically, but when it comes to science issues, they're just like, yeah, no one's listening to us. No one's listening to us. Nobody's doing it. And that's just not changing anytime soon. And that's the problem. I mean, the EPA has been gutted for a while now, and it continues to get worse. But the good news is we can do something. Scientists do have a path to get us back. We can do something. We just got to start playing catch up. And hopefully we'll start playing catch up through our own actions and through the state level. Because if the federal government is failing, the states have to step in. So support your local farms, recycle. Try not to litter. I mean, I know this all seems like, gee, Ron, it sounds like you're putting Band-Aids on a broken arm. To some extent, that's true, but, you know, you got to do everything you can as an individual. I try to do my best. I try, you know, I always recycle. I try to compost. It's not always easy, but I try to do it. Sustainable farming's a big deal. I think it's a bigger deal than people let on. I think it's really important. Let's see here. I'll go to the chat now, and that's how we'll end the show. Marcus went to local debates last night. Only one of 4 Dems showed. State Senator Dem was too busy putting flags on McCain's grave. GOP candidate was for municipal internet. That's awesome, Marcus. That's cool. And the daytime, Watson says, and the daytime bogus award nominees are still Wilkos for That's Not My Baby, and the Judicial Committee's Kavanaugh's hearing. The winner is SCOTUS. Not sure I know what all that means, but thank you very much for the Super Chat contribution. Krillin, did you see Venom? I've not seen Venom. I've heard mixed things. People either loved it or they hated it. I haven't seen anything in between. People either love Venom or they hated Venom. Next week, I'm psyched for 9 Inch Nails. That should be an interesting show. Never seen 9 Inch Nails live. But that should be interesting. I heard he puts on a heck of a show. I'm not a huge Trent Reznor guy. Nothing against him. I mean, it's just not really my cup of tea. I respect it for what it is. Respect him for what he does. Just as a listener, I was always more of a kind of like just guitar, bass, drums, rock and roll kind of guy, you know? Still am in many ways. Let's see. Let's see what you guys are saying. Chris Walker saying revolution. And you guys are saying, hey, how are we going to pay for this clean environment? How are we going to pay for this Green New Deal that gives people jobs? How are we going to pay for that? How are we going to pay for this infrastructure that we need? When we dip into the bomb money fund. That's what we do. Chromatic Tree points out one of their professors is a conservative bioenvironmentalist. Climate change does not care about your party preference. Indeed. And Get Real echoes that point. Science isn't left, it just is. Yeah. Bozo right-wingers have pinned science as being left, and they made it stick. They certainly have. Yeah, they certainly have branded that. And it's because, you know, they profit off of destroying the environment. Is Lucy going to be okay? Oh, that's a good question. Lucy's going to be just fine. She's in good hands while I'm gone. Pasta's going to be her sitter, so she'll be in very good hands. Either a song or a shot of Lucy to end things. I'll grab Lucy for you. She's in her tree, actually. She's been using the cat tree I bought for her, which has made me very happy. So I'll go grab her to end the show today. Let me go get her. And Derek Robert points out, Coke, Pepsi, and Nestle are the biggest cause of plastic waste on the planet. We're number one. David Witt, Chris Hedges on his book tour is now explicitly advocating overthrow of the corporate state. You know, I bought my dad his new book for his birthday. I bought my dad, Chris Hedges, his new book for his birthday. It just came in the mail. And my dad's like, it looks interesting. I'm going to check it out. And I'm like, I look forward to that. Let me know what you think. And Chris Walker recommends a book, Can Democracy Survive Global Capitalism? I'm going to say no. I hope I didn't spoil the book. But I'm going to say no. All right, let me go get Lucy. And we're all going to kind of say goodbye. Be right back. Talk amongst yourselves. Lucy, you're in demand. I know. Come here, sweetie. Oh. Here she is. And Richard Wolff is recommended by people, which that's a good recommendation. I've actually been getting into his podcast. So Lucy gets pretty anxious when I go out of town, and especially if my girlfriend goes too. She's been a little squeamish lately because I think she knows. She sees, like, we're already packing because we're leaving on Sunday. So she sees that, you know, she's not the biggest fan. She'll get kind of clingy and stuff because she gets worried. But, you know, she's pretty adaptable. She'll be okay. She'll be excited to see Pasta when he comes over to feed her and play with her and stuff. So she will be A-okay. Do not worry about her. And for all you patrons out there, she'll definitely be writing some. So you'll see some Lucy dialogues in there. Which, by the way, I hope, if there's any patrons on the stream, I hope you enjoyed her theory on JFK. Which that's one of the things you get as a patron. You get Lucy's theory on JFK. There was a cat involved, according to a theory she likes to talk about. So anyway, which, by the way, I'll do the housekeeping here to end. Want to support this show on the sustainability level, please do consider becoming a patron. For a pay-what-you-can level, you get all kinds of exclusive stuff, including my album. That's going to be delivered to your inbox, and it comes out on November 2nd. Patreon.com/Ron. Pay-what-you-can level. Yeah, no. Tour dates, November 2nd, Sacramento, California. Grab tickets now. We're running out of them. November 3rd, San Francisco, California. Grab tickets now. November 10th, Austin, Texas. Come hang out with me in Austin. It's going to be at ZT, our sponsor, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. We're doing a show for their new opening. Come hang out. It's going to be a fun show. It's a small space. So come enjoy. It's going to be fun. I can't wait to see you, Austin, Texas. And November 23rd, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My hometown. Can't wait to see you there. January 9th, Gainesville, Florida. January 10th, Coral Gables, Florida. It took me a second to realize which way the run goes routing-wise. January 11th, Orlando, Florida. January 12th, Jacksonville, Florida. Tickets for all those shows are available now at ronplacone.com. And, guys, there's a few things that are in the works that aren't confirmed yet, but New Orleans. Looks like Graham Elwood and I are going to be coming. Working on New Orleans, working on the Panhandle in Pensacola, Florida, and probably some surrounding dates, maybe in Mississippi. I've never played Mississippi before, so I really want to hit it. You know, it's on my bucket list because I want to play all 50 states. And Lucy's kind of chilling, guys. She's happy here, which is nice. So, guys, we are going to be taking a break. I am not going to be on Monday. I'm going to be in the UK. I'm going over to England and Scotland, and then I'm also going over to Ireland. For any friends I got over there, October 17th, I'm doing a spot in London. It's either going to be at the Camden Club or the Bill Murray Club. I haven't gotten the full itinerary yet, but I am going to be doing a guest spot out there. If you want to come hang out, please do. And October 22nd, Dublin, Ireland. I'm going to be doing a spot at the Comedy Crunch. Please come hang out. I'm not headlining those shows. They're not my shows. I'm just a comedian doing a spot, kind of popping in. But I can't wait, and I'm hoping to tour the area more in the future. But this time around, it's mostly on vacation. There will be videos coming out every day, guys, so please do check back. Please do not forget about this channel. Videos are going to be coming out every day. I got some stand-up videos coming out. So this channel will still be very active, but we won't be doing the streams. I will try to stream on occasion, unannounced, if I can just kind of stream on my phone for a bit. We'll see. But the show, as regular, will not be going on. We will be coming back October 29th. Again, that is October 29th. We'll be back, and I will miss you all. I will miss you all very much. You guys are recommending some stuff over there, Buckingham Palace. Yeah, I'm going to London, Manchester, Edinburgh, Dublin. That's where I'm going. So, guys, I will see you when I return. I will miss you all. Thank you very much for being part of this. Lucy will be fine. Worry not about her. And have an absolutely wonderful weekend. The podcast comes out tomorrow. Please do grab it. Get Your News On with Ron anywhere you get your podcast. Peace out.